All right, so this video is going to be changing fractions to decimals and decimals to fractions. So you can go ahead and go to your table of contents, and on page 3, I want you to label it decimal to fraction and fraction to decimal. If you want to abbreviate that second fraction, that is a-okay. After you get that written in your table of contents, go ahead and turn to page 3 and we will get started. So on page 3, again, we're going to use this page for both converting fractions to decimals and decimals to fractions. So the top half you will use to write fractions to decimals. So only use the top half of page 3 for these two examples. So the first example, we are going to change 5/8, which is a fraction, into a decimal. As a quick review, the top number is called your numerator. Your bottom number is called your denominator. And when you are changing a fraction into a decimal, you take your numerator and divide it by your denominator. And I'm just going to abbreviate that as denominator. So you can see here in my illustration, your numerator always goes on the inside, your denominator goes on the outside. So if I rewrite that with my example problem, it would be 5 on the inside, 8 on the outside. So first of all, we're just going to divide. So can 8 go into 5? And I'd say no. So I add a decimal and add a 0. 8 can go into 50 6 times. 6 times 8 is 48. Subtract and I would get 2. Since I still have more left, I'm going to add another 0 and bring it down. You cannot have a remainder in decimals. So 8 can go into 20 3 times. I'm sorry, twice. That was my bad. Twice. 2 times 8 is 16. Subtract and I would get 4. Again, I have another number, so I'm going to add a 0 and bring it down. 8 can go into 40 5 times. 5 times 8 is 40. So that's how I know I'm finished, because I'm left with nothing. So 5/8 as a decimal is 0 and 625 thousandths. Okay. Your second example to change a fraction into a decimal is going to include a negative mixed number. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use the circle method. So we're going to change this mixed number into an improper fraction. So to do that, I take the denominator times the whole number and then add the numerator. So 3 times 1 is 3, and then plus 2 is 5, and then my denominator will stay the same. Okay, you notice that my mixed number was a negative, so my improper fraction will also be a negative. Now that I've changed it into an improper fraction, I can do the same as before and take my numerator, which is 5, and divide it by my denominator, which is 3. Now again, since my mixed number is a negative, my decimal will also be a negative. So I'm just going to stick the negative sign out front so I don't forget it. Okay, now I'll just do division. 3 can go into 5 one time. 1 times 3 is 3. Subtract and I get 2. Since I have nothing, I'm going to add a decimal and add a 0. Bring it down. 3 can go into 20 6 times. 6 times 3 is 18. Subtract 10 minus 8 is 2. Again, I have a remainder, so I'm going to bring down another 0. 3 can go into 20 6 times again. 6 times 3 is 18. If you've noticed, there's a pattern. I'm always going to get a remainder of 2. So I'm going to rewrite this decimal as negative 1.6 with the repeating bar above the 6. Since the 6 is the digit that is repeating, I only need to write it once. So that would be my answer. Okay, the next set of examples is going to be to change a decimal to a fraction. And this is actually where you are going to, I have a little place value charts cut out, and in the center of the desk, you're going to glue your place value chart right there. Okay, so this should be that place value chart, which tells you the place value is like above my Promethean board. Okay, then your first example, and these examples do not take near as much work as the first one. Your first example is going to be 0 and 45 hundredths. The first thing you're always going to do is you're going to look at the smallest place value, which would be the 5, and I already said that is in the hundredths place. If you need to check your place value chart, you can. It's 2 past the decimal. So since the 5 is in the hundredths place, and that's the smallest place value, 100 is my denominator, and then your numerator is just the number, so 45. Now, unfortunately, 45 and 100 can both be divided by the same number, so you do have to reduce the fraction. So 45 divided by 5 is 9, and 100 divided by 5 is 20. Now, since 9 and 20 don't have anything in common, that is my final answer. All right, and your next example is going to be negative 8.2. So again, we always look at the smallest place value. My 2 this time is in the tenths. Whoops, sorry. I was hitting the board. Is in the tenths, that's what that says. So then I would have my whole number, which is negative 8. That does not change. And then the 2 is in the tenths, so 2 over 10. Again, 2 and 10 can both be simplified by 2. So my final answer will be negative 8 and 1/5. All right, so that is it for this page.